It's Chris with Never Enough Outdoors, and today I wanted to show you how to set up your kids' fishing pole so that they can catch their first fish or just catch fish or go fishing with a bobber and a worm or a cricket on a small hook. So I wanted to show you, most of the kids' fishing poles look like this. They have a Spincast reel, and a lot of times you'll buy a short kids' fishing pole or you might buy them a long one, but most kids learn on a rod like this. Check out the video I made that shows how to cast a reel like this and teach your kids to throw their line out into the water and fish with a bobber, or they can fish off the bottom. But check out my video I made that shows how to do that. But I want to show you how to set that rod up. So many kids want to go fishing, but their parents don't know how to set their line up. All right, I'm here at the back of my truck, and I apologize for the shadow. It's hard to get out of the sun, but I wanted to show you some key pieces you'll need to set up your kid's rod to fish with a bobber. First, you'll need a small hook. You don't need a huge hook. You don't need a tiny hook. You need whatever size hook you think will fit in the fish's mouth. If the fish are biting your worms off and your crickets and not getting the hook, you need a smaller hook. But if the hook's too small, it may not get caught on the fish's mouth. So this is a small hook. It's a little bigger than I normally use, but it's a good size for a worm to fit on. Then you'll need a bobber. This floats on top of the water. It attaches to your line and it floats on top of the water. And if a fish bites your line, your bobber it'll go down underwater, or it'll just move and the fish will drag it away. And that's when you know you got a fish biting your line. A lot of times the fish will get your bait and drag it, but when that thing goes underwater, they've got a hold of your hook, and that's when you need to reel in. Another important piece you'll need is your weights. These are lead weights, and they come in a few different sizes, but these are all about typical size weights. And they have you can see they have a prong on the top, on the sides, that you can use to pry open the weight, or you can use your pliers to close them over your line. And these are important for if you want to cast farther, you need more weight. And the other purpose of the weight is to hold your line down in the water, to keep your bait down as deep as you want it so that the fish will bite it. If you don't have a weight on there, your bait may float or drift away, or it just won't be able to be fished correctly. All right, so I've got my line here. It's hard to see, but to start out, you want to make sure you've got some clean line. You can use a pair of pliers or a pair of scissors or whatever works for you. These are actually meant to be scissors to cut heavy stuff, but I like them when I'm fishing. But I've also got a pair of pliers here. Just trim off the excess line that you don't need. Make it a good clean piece to start with, and to tie on your hook. And that's probably the hardest part. Now, a lot of people will actually tie a knot like they're tying their kid's shoe, and that's fine for fishing with light tackle like this. But if you catch a big fish, it may not work out right, and it may untie that knot. So I'm going to teach you an easy clinch knot that you can tie. It's kind of hard, but it's not that hard. I put the line through the eye of the hook one time, and I'm going to put my fingers over this and hold it. And you basically just wrap this tail around that line. You want to wrap it 7 times. 6 times will probably be fine, but just wrap it around there about 6 or 7 times. And then you want to stick the tail back through where this separates. See that separation there? Where it separates when it comes out of that hook eye? You just want to stick it in that, stick it in there. And then you want to come back underneath where you just stuck it through there, in that hole, and pull it tight. And then you just kind of work it down until it gets tight around that hook eye. You have to pull both sides back and forth until you get it down. Sometimes you have to even just slide it down and pull it tight. I'm going to put it in my mouth because that's much easier. All right, so there it is. That's a clinch knot, and if you were to tie this and your kid were to catch a big fish, it's strong enough that it's not going to break. It may break, but it's a whole lot stronger than just tying a knot like a shoelace. And you just want to trim off some of your excess line here so there's just a little tail hanging off of there. And there's your clinch knot. That's tied. That's tight. It's not going to break. It's not going to come untied. Next, what you want to do is a few inches up from your hook, you want to put on these weights. And you don't always need 4. I've just got 4 laying here. You may need 3. You may need 2. They might be bigger than this. They might be smaller than this. But 3 or 4 is plenty. And what you do is, if this is not opened, if that place is not open, you can take your pliers and pry back on this right here and squeeze it farther open. See how that's sliding open a little bit? And once you've got it open far enough to get it around the line, you just put it around the line and hold it while you get your pliers. Something like that. It's going through that line or around that line, and you take your pliers and you squeeze tight on the piece that goes around the line. And it may look ugly at times, but it's going to stay on there. So there's my first weight, and it's tight. It won't even slide. So I've got my hook and my first weight, and I'm going to put another weight on there to show you how to do it. Again, if it's not pried open enough, you can put your pliers on the back of this and squeeze it, and it'll open up farther. But that doesn't need to be opened up. Well, maybe that does. I'm going to take another one. Again, you can slide that up. Look at that. That one came way open. But put it around your line right beside the other one. They can be touching. They can be farther apart. It doesn't matter. And just squeeze it tight. Clamp it down. See, that's ugly, but it serves its purpose. It's a good weight. I'm going to put one more on there. This one I'm not going to open up. Just put it on there. Hold your line around it. Take your pliers and squeeze it tight. Alright, so now I've got a hook and my weights. And I'm almost ready to go. If I were going to fish off the bottom, I would just put my worm on here and I could go fish, and this would lay on the bottom. My weights would go down. They'd sit on the bottom of the lake, and my worm might float around. It may lay there. I don't know. But you could fish like that. Now, if you want to put a bobber on, you just have to figure out how deep you want your bait to sit in the water. Now, let's say you're fishing and some people around you are catching fish, but you're not, and you're fishing in the same general area. Well, go look and see when they rear their line in. Check and see how deep they're fishing. If they've got their bobber set 4 feet high off of the bottom of the hook, they're fishing 4 feet deep. But if you've got yours set up and it's only, a few inches above the weights, you're not fishing deep enough. So go set your bobber up longer. I'm going to show you how to put this on there. I'm going to put it on right here just to show you. You want to put the bottom on first. And there's a button here on top. So push that button in. As you see, as I push it, this little hook pops out of the bottom of the bobber. There's a hook on top and a hook on bottom. But to get the bottom one out, you just push the button in. So just push the button in and put the line under your hook and let go. And now that line's stuck up under there. It's not going to come off. Now to get the top on, you need to hold the bottom to keep that hook from coming down. So put your thumb on that hook, and instead of pressing the whole button on top, just push around the edges, and you'll see that a hook pops out on the top if you push around the edges. It won't push if you push in the middle, because it's going to push on your thumb down there, but just push around the edges and another hook is there. And you want to take your line and put it around it, but I like to go twice around it. So make a lap, or a full lap around it, and go back in it twice, and that keeps it from sliding. See, I can't slide that. That can be important. But to slide your bobber up and down, if you can slide it with it wrapped around there twice, that's great, and I can here. But sometimes you've got to undo one of those laps you made with your top hook and slide it, and then put the other lap back on it. But this is allowing me to slide it just like this. So not a big deal. I don't have to worry about it. Now I'm standing in a parking lot. I'm going to show you what this looks like if the wind will cooperate with me. See, I've got my bobber and my weights and my hook. And so when your kids go cast it out in the water, that bobber is going to float on top of the water, and your weights are going to sink as far as the bobber will allow them to go. And then the hook and the bait is probably going to hang below it, but it may float around, which is fine. But the main thing is these weights will make your bait go down in the water as deep as you've got your bobber set up to fish for. But that's how you do it. That's how you set up your kid's fishing pole for fishing. Again, if you tied a regular any knot you came up with down here, that would be fine, but as long as they don't catch a big fish. If they catch a big fish, it's going to, a 3-pound something, it might make this knot come untied, but this clinch knot's not going to come untied. If this breaks, it's going to be because the fish was too big, or the drag wasn't set correctly, or something. But that's how you set up a kid's fishing pole for fishing. These bobbers come in all different colors. You can get red, sometimes orange, or neon yellow. They probably make different colors, but that's that color so that you can see it out in the water, so you can find your bobber. Sometimes if you've got a bunch of kids fishing together, you give them all different color bobbers so they know which one's theirs. All right, so that's how you set up your kids' fishing pole. So you can take them fishing, and you can learn together with your kids and catch some fish, make some memories, and just get out there and enjoy life. Please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Thanks.